So, back to business. So yes, more formal locations like Valpo were my easier jobs because the demand was a bit deterministic. The production capacity was finite, and the output had a very clear value chain. Now contrast that with when I moved to the brewery industry. Consumption of beer is very difficult to predict. You know, mostly in the rainy season, it goes down a bit. When people are not feeling very hot, they are not sweating so much. They don't drink as much beer. You don't believe that? Well, that's the way the cycle went. The hotter the weather, the more beer we sold. And when I was in the tobacco industry, it was opposite. People smoked more when it was a bit cold. So those discussions raised the issue of the algorithms, the forecasts, because everything we did in what we call fast-moving consumer goods business, so cigarettes, drinks, Unilever soap, and cooking products and so on, fast-moving consumer goods, so households. Everything we did depended on a salesperson's forecast. Without the forecast, production does not know how much to make. Without the forecast, procurement does not know which raw materials to buy. Without the forecast, the maintenance people do not know what targets to set on. Even if I dare to say, even human resources does not know which trainings to run, if we don't know what we are trying to do from a demand standpoint. But look at the typical life, because I've led the life of an engineer, I've led the life of an IT guy, I've led the life of everybody, even the auditor. But the one I find most unstructured is the life of a salesperson when I was head of sales of MTN. Because you walk into MTN house and people are like, hey, Charlie, we are behind targets. It's October. You know, if we are not careful, there will be no bonuses. So on and so forth. Essentially, my boss in the Netherlands used to say there are times in life you feel like just doing this and checking whether the wind is blowing left or right. Because what they are asking you, you are not very sure how much more you can sell at that particular time. Should I go to Ashesi? What will I do there that will make them buy more bundles? You have to be very sober when everybody else is hyper. And under those circumstances, what you are doing from an algorithmic standpoint comes in a lot. I found it interesting as I was reading to come to your class that we were talking about some casino algorithms. And the usage of those ones, I was so surprised. The word itself says casino, suggesting chaos. But they use them in generating encryption keys. A high level of accuracy. And some of the things that in life AI has taught us are that probability started as a word that in itself depicted uncertainty. What is the probability of throwing a 6 when you throw a dice? That's, I don't know nowadays, but when I started probability as a teenager, that was the most favorite starting point of most teachers. Then 1/6. Now, how do you do it twice? Then, you know, that was how we associated it with chance. It is still, as we see in hallucinations and as we see in the challenges of AI, it is still not an exact science. But the level of dependency of the world today on probability functions, I don't think it has ever been so high. And it also informs us that life in itself has never been linear. It has never been clear that who has traveled the longest distance to be here. What country are you from? You're Ghanaian? Wonderful. Pronounce your name for me. Chirose. Okay. Which part of Ghana? You know, when somebody says the north, feel like throwing something at Upper West. Laura to move out west. Nando. Okay. Oh, Nandoli? I see. So you know about Bagby? Have you heard the name before? He's your. He was your MP. Interesting. Okay. Like I told you, I'm a salesperson. So a lot of neighborhoods in Ghana look out for me. But not only, without saying too much, it used to be one of the most challenged constituencies in Ghana in terms of resources. I'm sure with your arrival in Ashesi, Nadoli has now opened to all the whatever. But going back on track, the issues around why I asked who has traveled the furthest to come is that the issues around forecasting and algorithms and probabilities and predictions always has to do with the intricacy with which you know the exceptions. Because the favorite thing that we all tend to do is to look at historical data and then forecast 10% more, 20% more based on a few known parameters. Maybe population has grown. But the exceptions were where the work was. So when, for example, in the telecom network, you do your frequency plan. So the frequency plan is going to tell you that on the basis of all the, the traffic that is going to be on the network, and on the basis of all the masts, you see those masts that they built, and all the radios, and all the, everything. This is the way you're going to spec the capacity to make sure that the different cells don't interfere with each other. Once you've done that, I'll give you an example. Ashantis have something they call, I think they called it, the last one they called it Dotiye. Asantehene, the Queen Mother died. So I went for the previous one. The Queen Mother died before this one. And I went for the previous one. In the middle of Menchia Palace, when people had gathered, the function was at its peak. I looked at my phone and I realized that WhatsApps I sent 10 minutes ago were still buffering. So I called MTN House. And when a salesperson is at an event and they call the chief technical officer, he himself told me once, he said, I know your, what they call competitor line. So I have a Tigo line. And I made I was MTN head of sales. And he said, I know your Tigo line. So when I see it calling, I shake. Because it means you cannot get through on MTN. And you are calling them with a lot of fury and, impatience. So I called him and I'm like, Dotiye, the peak of our sales, there's no capacity. My messages are buffering. The explanation was interesting. There's something they call in telecoms the cell on wheels, COW. So we call it a car. When you are coming to a function where you think there will be congestion, you sometimes put a cell on wheels in the background to boost capacity in the area. Because that one you can move it from place to place. Now, if you don't parameterize it properly, what happens? The main site that is serving the area stops serving and hands over to the cell on wheels. The cell on wheels is a supplementary unit. It cannot carry the full traffic. So they are not parameterized properly. The cell on wheels are taken over. Now could not handle the traffic in Asia. So in real time, optimizers, planners, people had to rush to the place. Because me too, I'm saying that if I can't get .ca properly, I can't meet the revenue target. Look, revenue is not an exact science. Wherever people are gathered, you want to go there and sell. You want to go there and convince them that they should use your services. So if you miss all the good gatherings, and then you are left every day, I have a discussion that constantly runs with my brother Yao. He spent a lot of his career as a marketer. So he was chief marketing officer of Unilever before he became a CEO. And I was saying to him that back in the day, I sort of believed strongly in the narrative and theming of marketing to sort of centralize the brand message